Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. So, seems like tonight is as good as any other night for us to continue with our Qabalah book study. So, where we last left off with the mystical Qabalah was actually chapter 13. And chapter 13 deals with practical work upon the tree. And this is something that Dion Fortune said that you kind of keep to a limited explanation because being bound to the oaths of a secret society, she didn't want to be responsible for divulging too much information. But in any case, she knows how to do so in her own way. So that being said, let's see what she has to say about practical work upon the tree. So peace and greetings to everybody who's currently present. Thanks for being here. Shaylet, peace, peace. Good to see you. Hello, Vegeta. Peace, my brother, peace. Born winner. Dominique Stevenson, thank you for your donation and welcome. Jerry Veritas, peace, peace. Jerry Veritas says, just came in to say I love you and appreciate everything you do. You are a true master teacher. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah. It's easy to forget sometimes, but it's good to know that what I do is appreciated. It is. So thank you for that. K Prime, what's up? What's up? I see you got the dragon there. Just got back from watching the Dragon Ball Super movie. Pretty cool. I'm glad Piccolo got his moment to shine. It was deserved and long awaited, right? Pharaoh Fades, peace, peace. Shaylet says, I'm bringing you to Mississippi so Gator and I can take you to the casino. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Paulo Vegeta says, Trav, the only one that pronounced Vegeta correctly. Right on, bro. DBZ. Yeah, man. K Prime says, bro, how was that movie? I liked it. It was good. Time well spent. I think the storytelling was nice, and like I said, Piccolo got his time to shine. And there's a few things that you'll see in that movie that you've never seen in the series. MMK, peace, peace. Peace, peace. Yeah. Paulo Vegeta says, super movie. What you talking about, Willis? I mean, that's what it's called. That's what it says on the theater thing. You can look at my Instagram story. Like, I took a picture of the actual sign. That's what it says. I don't know. Jenny. Hey, fam. Hey, bunny. Peace. All right. So, yeah. Late night read. Figure why not? I'm up. Y'all are up. So let's get to it, right? Let's get to it. Okay. All right. So this is chapter 13, and Paulo Vegeta says, how I didn't know DB Super had a movie. I mean, it just came out. It came out like today, I want to say. If not like at midnight last night. But yeah, man, check it out. See it in theaters. Give it that real support. My brother cheated and watched it online like a month or two ago. Don't do that. Alright. So let's begin. Let's begin. Lettuce, tomatoes, and cheese. Make sure we got this thing angled up just right. I think that's good. What do y'all think? You can look, but you better not touch. And how's the audio? Is my voice coming through clear? Do I need to turn that music down? Let me know before we start. Let me know before we begin. Trying to get this thing angled up nice and proper so I don't have to bend over too much. I got it stacked on a bunch of books, and I might actually take it off of that stack. It's too high. That might be better. Alright, music too loud, going once, going twice. Okay, alright, so let's begin. Let's begin. I did not apply any scorpion venom to my lips today. Actual scorpion venom, y'all. That could have been terrible. Alright, let's get to it. And you know the routine? Let's get it cracking. Chapter 13. Practical work upon the tree. If among the readers who have followed these studies in the Qabalah thus far, there are any of the more advanced students of Western occultism, they will no doubt have found much more that is familiar than is new or original. In other words, those of you who are well versed will know that so far what we've read, it isn't so much new information, it should really be familiar information. Because truly this is foundational work, meaning that anything advanced is based upon this type of information here. So don't let anyone really fool you and try to talk about how their system is better or your system is worse, because that's not really how you look at this thing, right? The best way to look at this thing is getting a practical understanding of how to maneuver through your subjective reality. It doesn't matter if you're using the Qabalah system or any other system, right? As long as you're able to maneuver through your subjective reality, that system works. Because once you get past that foundation, it's all the same. It's all the same. And I'm telling you this because I've been there and I'm here. Like, no matter what system anybody's talking about, once you get through your basics and your foundations, the higher level stuff, it all starts to blend, right? And I'm talking about whether you're talking about Christianity, if you're talking about, I don't know, well, whatever other system you choose to follow. Once you get past the foundational basic stuff, it starts, that's when the advanced content really starts to blend. But in any case, if among the readers who have followed these studies in the Qabalah thus far, there are any of the more advanced students of Western occultism, peace, Framestar, good to see you. I got your email, I did, and I will be responding to you very shortly. Yeah. They will no doubt have found much more that is familiar than is new or original. In working upon this storehouse of ancient knowledge, we are in the position of excavators working on the site of a buried temple. We are digging up fragments rather than studying a coherent system, for the system, though coherent enough in its heyday, was broken and scattered and defaced by the persecutions of 20 centuries of unenlightened bigotry and spiritual jealousy. Hecate, good to see you. Good evening. Good evening. The hardest working woman on Malkuth. Sunshine Chick, always good to see you. Peace, peace. No, notorious. So yeah, just like what she said, she dropped a key word here. We're working upon a storehouse of ancient knowledge, right? So if it's ancient knowledge, of course, it should be more familiar than new or original, right? And we're in the position of excavators. We're digging up and working on the site of a buried temple, right? We're digging up fragments rather than studying a coherent system. And that's how a lot of this stuff is. As you search online for answers and clues to what you're studying, it's a lot like digging up fragments. But like I said, once you start to learn the system, the coherent system, that's when everything starts making sense, right? And one thing to remember is the system, especially these that we're trying to learn about today, they were coherent in their heyday, back when it was on and popping. But today, a lot of these systems are broken and scattered and defaced, especially now when you've got a lot of ignorance and confusion trying to teach and spread the information, right? And I don't think it's so much as agents trying to misinform the public. I think that these people are already misinformed, so naturally when they try to teach this information, it's going to be corrupted. So it is difficult to find the truth, but once you find it, hold on to it tight with two hands and both legs. Number 2. More work has been done upon these scattered fragments than is generally realized, however. Madame Blavatsky gathered together a great mass of data and exposed it to the gaze of a public which understood it little better than a child gazing at the cases in a museum and marveling at the queer things they contain, right? So look at that picture. A little child in a museum, right, full of ancient artifacts, right? Stuff from Kemet, stuff from India, stuff from Sumeria, stuff from the ancient world, relics of deep spiritual significance, right? Then picture some American kid from the suburbs who doesn't know anything outside of Roblox, YouTube, and Capri Sun and McDonald's. And they go into this museum and they're looking at these items, and yeah, they look shiny and cool. Wow, I saw this in Yu-Gi-Oh once. Oh, this is just like what they had in Digimon, right? That's what it is when you get a master teacher bringing this information to today's world. Yeah, it looks cool and it looks shiny, but the people who are receiving the information don't have a framework or a foundation. So you'll mess around and present some deep information from ancient Kemet, and the best these kids can say is, "Oh, just like in Yu-Gi-Oh," and that's what we get. That's a metaphor for pretty much what you're gonna find if you go searching on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all that for your general spiritual information. So she says that more work has been done upon the scattered fragments than is generally realized, however. Madame Blavatsky gathered together a great mass of data. And if you want to try to look through that mass of data, check out her book, The Secret Doctrine. Good luck. She took that mass of data and exposed it, and I say good luck because it's very intricate work. Very intricate. I'll put it that way. And very wordy. I think we've been spoiled on the good Swami Niranjanananda and the Bihar School's writings because they're so clear and concise. You're not going to get that special treatment with Madame Blavatsky's work. It takes a lot of patience. But anyways, Blavatsky gathered together a great mass of data and exposed it to the gaze of a public which understood it little better than the child gazing at the cases in a museum and marveling at the queer things they contain. The scholarly work of G.R.S. Mead has given us much information concerning the gnosis, the esoteric tradition of the Western world during the earlier centuries of our epoch. Miss Atwood's monumental book has revealed the significance of the alchemical symbolism to us. None of these, however, have expounded the Western tradition as initiates of that tradition, but have approached it from the outside and either pieced together fragments or, as in the case of Madame Blavatsky, interpreted it by analogy in the light of the more familiar system of another tradition. Interesting. Imagine someone teaching the mystical tradition and ancient science from the outside versus someone teaching it from the inside, right? How do you think that would be different? Someone trying to teach Qabalah who actually doesn't understand Qabalah or hasn't been initiated into the practice versus someone who has been. Do you think that the teaching style would be different? And I think if you listen close, you can probably start to tell. I mean, pick anything that you're good at. Pick anything that you're actually involved in. Right? I'll just use as an example. So, if I'm talking to someone about Fortnite, there's certain things that you're going to say and understand if you play the game. And if you don't play the game, you're going to talk about it differently. You're going to talk about it differently if you've just watched YouTube videos on it or if you've just read about it somewhere. You know, you might be a fan of a certain dance style or a certain cuisine, right? Whatever you want to pick, you can tell that there's a difference when someone talks about it from the outside versus someone talking about it as a practitioner. Something to keep in mind when you're doing your research. Petty Midnight Gospel. Peace. Will Trent. Peace, my brother. Peace. And yes, if you're here, go ahead and hit that like button. I mean, obviously, if you're here, you like the video. So show it by tapping that like button. It helps me, it helps YouTube, and everyone has a good day. Number 3, those who approached the study of the subject from the inside, that is to say with initiatory keys, right, with the initiatory keys, and employed it as a practical system for the exaltation of consciousness, have, for the most part, maintained a secrecy, which, though it might have been not only justifiable and even essential in the days when the Holy Inquisition rewarded such researchers with the stake, it is difficult to assign to any more creditable move in our liberal age than a desire to create and maintain prestige. In other words, a lot of people that do know this information, they tend to keep it a secret. And she says, basically, what's the point in doing that? Right? What's the point in doing that? Back in the day, it was important because you could get a long, sharp wooden stake shoved inside of you until it comes out of the other end. So that would make sense why we would want to keep this a secret. But there's no real reason to keep it a secret today other than trying to create an aura of prestige, right? An image of prestige. Basically trying to make yourself look big and grand. And it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Let's get it right. Framestar Film says, after banging on about the particle playground the other night, yesterday I picked up the cosmic doctrine for the first time. Guess I'm ready for it. Hell yes, my friend. Hell yes. Jump on over to chapter 27 and see what you can see. Okay, so a very effectual corner in occult practice, if not in occult knowledge, has been established and maintained among English-speaking peoples for the last quarter of a century. A corner that effectually defeated the spiritual impulse, which should have given rise to a renaissance of the mysteries during the last quarter of the last century. Consequently, the earth being ripe for the sowing and the wheat not being broadcast therein, the four winds brought strange seeds to the waiting ground, and a tropical growth sprang up that, having no roots in racial tradition, withered away or developed strange forms. That's a really interesting metaphor she just placed on us there. So she's talking about how there has been a trend that has been happening in the occult, basically, among English-speaking people. And she says that this trend effectually defeated the spiritual impulse, which should have given rise to a renaissance of the mysteries. So there should have been a revival of this spiritual information. But because of a particular trend that has sprung up, the revival was delayed. And it's been delayed over and over again until about now. She says, consequently, right, because this revival has been delayed, the earth is ripe for the sowing, and the wheat not being broadcast therein, right? The wheat hasn't been the ripe fruit, the wheat hasn't been harvested, right? And so because of that, the four winds brought strange seeds to the waiting ground, and a tropical growth sprang up. So in other words, because we've been due for a spiritual awakening and it didn't happen because of, you know, Western civilization being Western civilization, because that spiritual revival that was supposed to happen, we were ripe for it, but it didn't happen. So instead, because the earth was ready, because humanity was ready for something, right? Strange seeds began to pop up, right? A tropical growth sprang up that has no roots in racial tradition. So because of that, it withers away and it develops strange forms. So like, let's say imagine like right now there's supposed to be this massive spiritual awakening happening right now, but because of the way the world is set up with, you know, social media and tracking and all this other stuff, it doesn't quite happen. So the energy is still present for something like that to happen. It just manifests as in any way it can, basically. Even if it's people who their knowledge of Egypt comes from Yu-Gi-Oh! And they start teaching about Kemet, right? Even if it comes through that way, it'll happen. But that type of ignorance, it's not a solid foundation to really develop the growth. But it'll still work because the information's still getting out to the people who need it. You feel me? Straight Panther. Peace, brother. Peace. Number 4. The buried temple of our native tradition has, in actuality, been excavated in part at any rate, but the rescued fragments have not been made available for students according to the honorable traditions of European scholarship, but have been gathered together into private collections, the keys whereof have rested in the pockets of individuals who have opened and closed the doors in an entirely arbitrary fashion. Yeah, she's talking about exactly what I said. The keepers of the information are still asleep, so we got to give it to the posers, if you will. Society ejects. Peace, my friend. Peace. So again, like she said, the buried temple of our native tradition, it has been excavated in part at least. But the fragments that we got up out of there, they haven't been available for the students according to the honorable traditions, right? So a lot of the mystery and spiritual information that has come to the surface, it didn't get to its rightful owners, at least not yet. Instead, it got to people who can afford it and to people who are buddy-buddy with the people who dug it up. You see how that works? So she's actually not talking about right now. This book was written, I want to say 1936. So she's probably referring to the big bad Illuminati that we were so afraid of for so long. Now, rest assured, time has certainly changed, but she's speaking about what was going on in her time. I'm sure she would tell a different story if she had a physical body today. But yeah, the information that has been pulled up, it hasn't been made available for students according to the honorable traditions of European scholarship, but they've been gathered together into private collections. The keys whereof have rested in the pockets of individuals who have opened and closed doors, gatekeepers, right? They rested in the pockets of these gatekeepers who've opened and closed the doors in an entirely arbitrary fashion, right? I have no doubt these pages will cause heart burnings in certain quarters whose private collections they depreciate in value. So she's like, yeah, I know it's probably going to piss some of these people off who are reading this book. Because really, in those days, the only people really digging for this information were the people who could afford it. Or like I said, if you had to know somebody or be involved with some certain group. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready for this information or it was made for you. But that doesn't stop certain people from getting their hands on it. If you catch my drift, let me know. But I have no doubt also that the innumerable students who essayed the Western path in vain may find in these pages the keys to what was incomprehensible to them in the method, or perhaps, to be more accurate, the complete lack of method in which they were trained. Speaking for myself, it took me 10 years' work in the dark before I found the keys, right? So to the young folks that message me and get really mad when I don't respond right away, gotta understand, if that's how short your detective span is, you're not cut out for this type of work, right? If you're getting mad because you don't get an answer right away, this ain't for you, my friend. Because all these people who do this research and write these books, etc., we labor for a long time. We didn't just wake up, watch a video, and we got it. There's years worth of labor, decades, multiple decades worth of labor. And for those of you who are lifetime students, you understand what I mean. So what she's saying here is there are plenty of lifetime students, all of us who didn't go through a secret society, right? Plenty of us who tried to figure this stuff out on our own. We tried and tried and tried. And we didn't give up just because we don't have all the answers. What she's saying here is, in this book, I hope you do find the missing link to all that information you studied. So if you've been reading these books for 10 years, trying to figure it out for 20 years, hell, for 30 years like me, 20 years, my bad, 20 years, I don't give myself an extra 10. If you've been really studying this stuff for a long time like that, then obviously you've collected lots of information about random things, seemingly random, right? Tarot over here, astrology over here, Egyptian gods over here, Indian gods over here, Necronomicon, Qabalah, chaos magic, etc., and all of it doesn't seem to connect. Well, this is what makes the Qabalah so powerful, is because it's the central key that connects all that stuff together. And I mean that. This right here is the central key that connects everything you've ever studied. That's what makes Qabalah so powerful as a foundational platform. Right? Let me know if you follow. Darko Donnie, peace. Darko Donnie says, understanding, and I just got here. It MS a gathering of knowledge from everywhere, everything everywhere all at once. Oh yeah. So like she said, speaking for myself, it took me 10 years work in the dark before I found the keys. And I only found these, let's see, so I started in around like 99. And I didn't get this book until 2015. So that was a legit 16 years before I actually started to grasp Qabalah. Not grasp it. I didn't get it in 2015. I read this book in 2015 and I did not get it. But it gave me lots of clues. She said it took me 10 years work in the dark before I found the keys. And I only found these in the end because I was sufficiently psychic to pick up the inner plane contacts. Now check out what she just said there. This path is not just about you laboring with your conscious mind. As a matter of fact, it is not the conscious mind that finds anything. You get to a point where you trigger this information to surface from the unconscious mind. You get to a certain point where you learn how to stir up the unconscious mind. That's where this information comes from. Now, a book might help you do that. Your passion, your drive, your commitment might help you do that. But you're not going to do it just on the strength of you trying to do it. It comes from a deeper place than just your ego and conscious mind. So no matter how bad you want, you got to think about these movies also where they have these students go train with the guru or go train with the, what do they call it? The mentor, the elder, or the Yoda. You don't just walk in there and he tells you what to do and you got the answer. These gurus teach the disciple in an abstract way because they're bypassing their conscious mind. Because you know the conscious mind and the ego wants it now, and it wants it in the way that it wants it. But the guru tries to teach the disciple how to awaken the latent ability within his unconscious mind. Countless tales all throughout history, that's the message. The guru, the teacher, right? awakens something in the unconscious. Goku learned Kamehameha and Kaioken and Ultra Instinct and all that stuff. Not by studying and trying to figure it out. It was unlocked. His teachers led him and guided him to figure it out. Yoda guided Luke Skywalker. Obi-Wan guided Anakin. You follow? So this should help some of you that are like beating yourself up because you can't figure it out. It's not about figuring it out. It's about prepping yourself to receive this information from within. And when I say from within, I mean specifically the unconscious mind. Society Eject says, that's what you was doing for us, Travis. Exactly. Exactly. The conscious mind, like, it doesn't figure it out. The answer arises from the unconscious, and then the conscious mind rationalizes what just happened, right? You dream for God knows how long. Then you wake up, and then your conscious mind tries to make sense of it, right? If you have a traumatic experience, like say a car accident, or you witness something crazy or whatever, it happens, and then you go back and try to encode it rationally. Because in the moment, you're not even thinking. It's a traumatic experience because it pushes you into your unconscious mind. It pushes your consciousness, it subdues it. That's why we're talking about shadow work, because shadow work consists of these unconscious influences. But in the case of shadow work, these unconscious influences are causing us to live in patterns of pain and suffering. Okay, let's keep going. So she said it took her 10 years work in the dark before she found the keys. And she only found these keys because she became sufficiently psychic to pick up the inner plane contacts. Now, when someone says psychic, we should know by now, the stuff you see on TV and the movies, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It's an allegory. It's a metaphor, right? You're not going to get Wolverine claw knives coming out your fists. You're not going to be shooting lightning bolts out your fingertips. But it's a metaphor for the things that you can do, right? So when you see the word psychic, that's not going to play out like you think it does based on movies and TV shows. It's something different. And it is an opening. It is a thinning of the membrane, a thinning of the veil that separates the unconscious mind from the conscious mind. So being psychic is being able to tap into the unconscious mind. That's what doing the work is. Trying to forge a pathway, a doorway to the unconscious. That's what doing the work is. Doing the work is not buying stuff on Amazon to decorate your altar. Doing the work, I missed 11:11. Doing the work is being able to efficiently open a doorway to the vast, massive, unending ocean of the unconscious. Hollow Vegeta says, I refuse to relinquish my adamantium dreams. Hey man, keep dreaming. Keep dreaming. Because that's going to lead you somewhere, right? It's going to lead you to somewhere that only you know that you need to go to. So keep doing it. You might be the only one to get it, Hollow Vegeta. Because you were born winner. Everybody else, I can't say that, right? Me personally, you guys know, I've started to pinpoint my favorite superpower, right? Put together Kirby, put together Majin Buu, put together Venom symbiote, put together Mega Man, right? You start to track down my favorite superpower. Yeah, and also Xenomorph. Throw some Xenomorph alien in there. There's a linking thread between these things. Donnie Darko says, psychic as in knowledge without knowing how or why. Well, see, what doesn't know how or why? The knowledge is there. The knowledge is always there. All knowledge is everywhere. All knowledge is saturated in every particle of existence. Your conscious mind can only be aware of 7 to 9 things at once. Yet there are trillions, hundreds of trillions of bits of data in every particle. But the conscious mind can only be aware of 7 to 9. So when she says psychic, and when you say knowing knowledge without knowing how or why, what we're talking about is being open to perceive the right knowledge needed for the moment. Right? So expand your vision. The conscious mind is it's really a defense mechanism. It's a coping mechanism, right? It is not the end all be all, and it's not your greatest tool. It's your least least powerful tool. The unconscious mind is an infinite ocean. That's what I said. It's an infinite ocean. The conscious mind is a little bitty fish trying to make its way through. See, people often think that it's the other way around. We think that our conscious mind is the ocean, and the unconscious mind might be a whale in there somewhere that we're trying to tame and master and discipline. No, 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 no. The unconscious mind is an infinite ocean that we all exist in. I didn't say your unconscious mind, or her unconscious mind, or his unconscious mind, or my unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is a vast ocean in which we all swim in. So being psychic is being able to expand beyond being that fish and being able to locate the exact information you need, which is not somewhere over there, but within every morsel and every droplet of that ocean. The information of the whole ocean is stored in every drop. Isn't that what they say? Correct me if I'm wrong. What's the difference between a drop of water and the ocean? All the information of the ocean is stored in every droplet. But being that little fish, we are only aware of the droplets that surround our physical body. It's a different view probably than what you've heard before, but you can work with this view and get results. Sunshine Chick says tapping into the unconscious mind opens a channel for knowledge to filter through. Yes, yes. Society Eject says, so would that be considered the unconscious mind of God? Can't remember what book we read on about that. Yeah. Yeah, we could say that. Whatever name we want to call it, right? The All, Purusha, God, whatever we want to call it. Whatever label you want to use to tap into it. You know what I'm saying? If it works for you, it works. But yes, Framestar Film says holographic. Precisely. Rainbow Rose says, I love you, fam. Thank you for the digital rose. And the rainbow. And the fireball, too. Sunshine Chick says, part of the whole. Indeed. Darko Dunny says, kind of like a quantum entanglement. You jump to whatever you can set the unconscious to. Right. Right. It's all there. So let's keep going here, because apparently I circled this part. If I find it difficult to believe that any useful purpose is served by deliberately darkening counsel or by withholding from the student keys and explanations that are essential to this work. Let me go back. I find it difficult to believe that any useful purpose is served by deliberately darkening counsel or by withholding from the student keys and explanations that are essential to this work. If the student is unworthy to be trained, do not let us train him. If he is to be trained at all, let us train him properly. So in other words, she's saying, don't be a half-ass teacher and teach me some stuff, but hold back the other stuff because I'm not worthy. Look, if you're not worthy, you don't need to be trained in the first place. But if you are to be trained, let us train him properly. Let us train him properly. Let us train him properly. Not keeping secrets, not holding stuff back. Hollow Vegeta says, worthy or ready? That's a good question, and it does depend on opinion, perspective even. But I would say that 90% of Prakriti's life forms are not worthy to be trained at the moment, right? So I would go with what she said and say worthy, not worthy. 90% of the people are not worthy right now. Maybe they'll become worthy in a couple of lifetimes. You're gonna go to the dollar store and bump into the random person shopping for grits and gravy and try to dump on him some esoteric training? No. First off, he don't want it. He's gonna call it the devil and call you the devil and a devil worshiper. At worst, at best, he won't care. And even if he does care a little bit, his mind is probably going to be so stiff that it won't be flexible enough to be able to tap into the unconscious. So yeah, I'm going to go with unworthy right now. Sly, welcome, welcome. Now, I mean, also keep in mind, like, this is not a personal value judgment on an individual person. I don't know these people and I don't care. But let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Unworthy right now. Like I said, at some point in existence, we are all worthy and we all will graduate from this school, right? The success rate, the graduation rate of this class is 100%. It's 100%. Now, I am not going to say 100% of you is going to graduate at the same time, right? Because 90% has to be recycled through Doth, right? So it might just be that little 10% of you that's going to make it. And that other 90% has to go back and try it again until the good within it will be liberated. And the process goes indefinitely until the aspects of you realize that you're not here in the first place. You're going to continue the process. But every ounce of the hologram that becomes self-aware makes its way out. You liberate yourself. As you become self-aware, you liberate yourself. So it's not even a struggle or, oh my God, I can't. No, like, you liberate yourself when it's time. That's it. And if it's not time, you're still in school. Kindergartner, 5th grader, 8th grader, 10th grader, 12th grader. You don't finish school or graduate just because you're tired of it. Just because you're tired of it. No. If anything, you might drop out, right? But in this school, you can't drop out. You might pause, but you have to keep going until you learn your lesson. So there is no drop out because you get tired. You have to learn to not be tired and keep going. But the success rate is 100%. Maybe not this lifetime, and maybe not within 50 lifetimes, maybe not in a billion lifetimes. But eventually you will graduate. It's a 100% success rate, guaranteed. The question is, are you ready? Are you worthy? Society Eject says, yes, Dr. Strange wasn't worthy until he let go of his attachments. Being a rich, famous doctor, he had to lose his hands. Yeah, that's a good example, my friend. Good example. Darko Donnie says, it's the master's edge to see that there's something there in the student to grasp the knowledge. Yes, sir. And you got to be familiar with it within yourself. You got to be familiar with it within yourself. I can tell when somebody's ready or not ready. I'm not going to sit up here and dash nobody's hopes. But if I can figure out what they can use to get to the next level, I'm going to give it to them 1,000,000%. This gold book stuff, green book stuff, red book stuff, like that's not good for everybody. This information that I'm talking about, that, well, Trav, you sitting here reading this page talking about you don't want to hide information, da 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 da. Well, listen, I know what I'm doing. Trust and believe that. I know what I'm doing. I have given people information that they weren't ready for, and I saw the results. It's not cute. It's not pretty. It's not fun. It's not funny. Like, some of this stuff can really change your life if you're not ready for it. Like, you're probably used to reading books that are not very impactful. You're probably used to reading books that are like kind of cool, yeah. I'm used to reading books that can change your whole life. I'm not even joking. So to give that kind of information just willy-nilly to somebody who isn't structurally sound, that's not responsible. It's not responsible. So that's not me hiding the information, because honestly, if you're clever enough, you can find it. I don't hide it. I got the title all up in the mirror, You know what I'm saying? You can see on the pages and certain quotes, and like it's not hard. If you're a worthy student, you can figure it out. You get what I'm saying? Hello Vegeta says, I don't know if I'm worthy, but I'm trying to get there. I know that much. I want to lead to this path. I wasn't led to this path for no reason. And you know, that's the thing. Like, you're worthy enough. You are worthy enough. You're doing the work. You know what I'm saying? You're doing the work for yourself. You're trying to figure it out. I see you here every time I go live. Not just because you come to my videos, I'm not deeming you worthy. You're worthy to yourself because you make this a consistent thing for you, right? Someone who's not worthy, this type of work is not a consistent thing for them. This is something that they do when they see their friends doing it. It looks cool because some rappers said third eye, so now they looking at it. Some rapper said chakra. Some singer said Oshun one time, so now they in it for a minute. No, if you make this thing a consistent pattern for yourself, that makes you worthy. Not my judgment or my definition, because I don't know you outside of your YouTube name, right? But you know that you're worthy because you take this seriously. Pig facts. Society Eject says, totally understandable. Like, I won't give my daughter, 11, the keys to my car to drive until she gets her license and learns how to drive. Precisely, my friend. Precisely. Perfect example. Donnie Darko says, it'll find its way to you if you're worthy. Big facts, right? A lot of these books I've had for a long time, but wasn't worthy enough to crack them open, right? And I'm grateful that I'm at a level in my life now where I can look at some of this information that I didn't understand years ago. I've been reading this book since 2015, and I only just now started to understand it, right? That was like 7 years ago. And I kept at it. That's what made me worthy. That's what made me worthy. I kept at it. I didn't get mad, call it trash, and say it was hard. You prove yourself to yourself, not to anyone else. Excellent. Good stuff. But I do know that there are a lot of people who come to my videos who are worthy and who can benefit from certain books. That's why I put it on like private or take it away or whatever, because I know that certain individuals are going to be watching when it comes out. And there's something like specifically that I think could benefit them. But anyways, let's continue. Mystical Qabalah, verse number 5 of chapter 13. Al Dickey, peace, my brother, what's up? In the following pages, I have done my best to elucidate the principles governing the use of magical symbolism. The practical use of the ceremonial method is best attempted under the guidance of one who has already experienced in its use. To work alone or with equally inexperienced comrades is to run unnecessary risks. But there is no reason why anyone should not experiment with the meditative method. So yeah, she says she's done her best to really flesh out the use of this symbolism, right? Now the practice aspect of this thing shouldn't really be done unless you got somebody who knows what they're doing. To work by yourself or with people who also don't know what the hell's going on, that's going to run unnecessary risks. That's the practical method. But she says the meditative method, anybody can do that. There's no harm in the meditative method. Number 6. Very important. In order to use the magical symbols effectually, one has to make the contact of each individual symbol. You got that? In order to use the magical symbols effectually, One has to make the contact of each individual symbol. It is of little use to make a list of symbols and proceed to the construction of a ritual. In magic, as in violin playing, one has to make one's notes. One does not find them ready made as on a piano. The student of the violin has to learn to make each individual note before he can play an air. So it is with any occult operation. We must know how to construct and contact the magical images before we can work with them. This is a very important verse. How many people in this chat can play violin or trombone? Sly says, I play violin. Awesome. So you know exactly what she means. Like, when it comes to like a piano, every note is laid out for you there. Or maybe, has anyone here ever played a fretless guitar or a fretless bass? On a guitar and a bass, they have frets, which pretty much you know where to put your finger to get a certain note. Likewise with the piano. You each key on that piano, on that keyboard, is a specific note. Boom, 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 boom. But with certain instruments like a violin, there are no frets, right? You have to learn where the notes are. You have to know exactly where to put your finger to hit C, D, E, F, right? So that adds a whole nother dimension of skill. Every other instrument has the notes mapped out for you in some way, like playing a trumpet. I was a trumpet player, and it had 3 valves, and you could press those 3 valves in any type of combination to get your notes, depending on how hard or how gentle you blow. With a trombone, you got to slide that thing back and forth, and you have to literally find the notes through muscle memory. So if you don't get it just right, you're going to be out of key or off key. You're going to be a little bit sharp, a little bit flat. So it literally takes the training of muscle memory. You have to make your note. You catch what I'm saying here? It has to become something that you know intuitively. You can't rely on the technology. You have to know it on the inside. That's the most important part of a ritual. That's why I make fun of the question, hey Trav, what color candle do I use? I know all that, but what demon do I summon? It's not the tools, right? It's not the tools. It's the contact that you make with the correspondence. So if I sit here and tell you, you got to use a red candle, that does nothing for you. Now it might, if you're one of those people who are, you know what I'm saying, like a Luke Skywalker, like an Anakin Skywalker, and you got the Force inside of you, you can make it work. But if you're a NPC that's just now becoming awake, that's not gonna cut it for you, because you're gonna start to get obsessed with that red candle and think, oh, red candles are magic. Nah, you got to find the correspondence behind why the red candle is chosen for that purpose. What's important about color? What's important about candles? What are you trying to do? You get what she's saying here? Because I think that's a perfect metaphor. And if you do play, if you play instruments at all, then that's the perfect metaphor. Because every other instrument has the notes cut out for you. But certain instruments like violins and trombones and fretless guitars, fretless bass, you got to learn it with something other than your basic observational skills. You literally have to involve your body and your muscle memory. Let me know if that makes sense. I know for most people it makes sense, but if anyone does not understand that, let me know. Society Eject says, yes, playing the violin was definitely next level, and if you hit the wrong note, you will definitely hear it. Likewise, when it comes to these rituals, that's why they give you books of ceremonial magic and rituals, so you don't run the risk of hitting the wrong note. They make ritual books and stuff like that so that the average person can tap into the energy. Remember what the Unfortunate said in verse 4, right? She said that she became sufficiently psychic enough to pick up the inner plane contacts. That's what she's talking about. You become psychic enough when you make your notes. So it's not, Trav, what candle do you use? I know what I'm doing because I made contact with the essence of what I'm trying to tap into. And I don't have to use a candle. I can use something else. Not because I'm such a badass, who's also incredibly good looking, but it's because I know what the thing I'm trying to tap into represents. So that's what you want to strive for as a magus. You want to understand what it is that you're working with and what it represents on the unconscious plane. That's why I circled that verse right there. And if you've got this book, you should circle it too, and actually try to break that down for yourself. Darko Donnie says, but I get what you mean. It's such a constant interaction with the knowledge until it's intuitive. That's a better word than muscle memory. Yes, intuitive. You want to make this thing intuitive. Then you're tapping into the psychic stuff. Framestar Film says, resonance of the note throughout from the subtle to the gross. Yes, that's perfect. Because when you tap into the essence of the thing, you can find its correspondences on the gross planes all the way up to the subtle planes. That's why certain keys are so effective, like the Qabalah glyph, right? Like the Tree of Life and the 10 spheres and the 22 paths, like the 5 elements, or the pentagram, or the tatwas, because these are symbols that resonate across all planes. That's what makes them magical. Some symbols resonate across all planes. That's what makes it magical. Not because it's a unicorn, but because I've made contact with what this represents across the planes. So what have you made contact with? What symbol have you made contact with that resonates across the planes? And maybe if you can track down how you did that, you can translate that understanding or that strategy in LP. You can translate that to other symbols you may have made contact with. Somebody told me that they are the best that's doing it right now. And I humbly smiled. The student of the violin has to learn and make each individual note before he can play an air. So it is with any occult operation. We must know how to construct and contact the magical images before we can work with them. "20-second break." Oh no, I didn't light any incense. I wonder what the metaphor is for that. Okay, so verse number 7. The sets of symbols associated with each of the 32 paths are used by the initiate to build up the magical images. It is necessary that he should know these symbols not only in theory, but also in practice. So check this out. If you don't know what symbols to start with, this is why the tarot cards are associated with the 32 paths, right? The major arcana and the minor arcana can all be attributed to a specific place on the tree, like a specific place. Within the 4 worlds, and part of the overall scheme of the paths. And beyond, because we've got the elemental families of the court cards. And basically, if you don't have nothing else, like if you need a comprehensive system, that tarot card deck has a card that represents every facet of our hologram, every facet of our reality. Now, I've recently come to an understanding that there is more outside of this particular dimension that we live in. But to really, for that to even be worth anything, you've got to understand where we currently are. And it's that's best done by understanding how the cards line up on the tree. So she says that it's necessary that you should know the symbols, not only in theory, right? Don't just know that, oh, well, the death card actually represents transformation and it deals with Scorpio and the body part deals with the intestines. That's the theory, and that's good. But also in practice, what's it like when you apply the experience of working with that energy? You know, the death card is about transformation energy. Can you identify and connect an experience within your memory banks of the energy of that card? That's what she means by making your notes. I have an experience with the strength card. I have an experience with the hermit card. I have an experience with the hierophant card. I have an experience with the lover's card. I have an experience with the devil card. I have an experience with the temperance card. You see what I'm saying? I can connect these to specific memories in my life. I have an experience with the star card. I have an experience with the mage's card. I have an experience with the fool card. I have an experience with the high priestess. I have an experience with the empress card. Does this make sense? That's what she's talking about. Not only in theory, but also in practice. That is to say, he must not only have them thoroughly well rooted in his memory, but must also have performed meditations upon them individually until he has penetrated their significance and experienced the force they represent. Trav, when we gonna get our powers? What powers? Right? Well, look, right here on Qabalah tarot cards, you got 32 different powers. Technically, you got 76 different powers. How many of them are you able to identify? Because you experience all of them on a daily basis, but have you connected them with these symbols? No. So if you ask me, Trav, when are we going to get our powers? My answer is when you learn about the powers to get. Right? Now, somebody else might tell you something that will keep you entertained and floating off in la la land. But here's the answer and the key right here. When are we going to get our powers? When you recognize them and connect the dots. That's when you're going to get them. When you realize that you already have them, you realize what they are and how they make sense. That's when you're going to get your powers. Not when Jupiter and Saturn align, not on December 21st, 2022 or whatever. Not on any doomsday date that you're going to let the Christians give you. Not on 88 Lionsgate. Not on 666. None of that. You're going to get it when you do the work, which is connecting the objective world with the subjective world. The cards are objective, but the meanings behind the cards are subjective. So if you're able to connect all this together within yourself, that's when you get your powers. Somebody that's listening that hasn't typed anything yet, let me know if that makes sense to you. When we gonna get our powers? That man paid money to ask that question, but that's all right. You know what I'm saying? That's all right. If that's the level he's at, like I said, if I can help, I will help. But it starts with clarifying what you mean, right? We got to break this thing down. We cannot settle for these generalized ideas that people are passing around, right? You got to just go within. Yeah, that's the answer, but what does that mean? Like, what does that practically mean? Like, how do I go within? Where am I going? What is going anywhere, right? Likewise, what are powers, right? You know, like, break down what you're actually saying. That's the only way that you can get an answer. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying? If you don't really even know what you're asking, then you can't get an answer. Good, 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 good. Peace, Caesar. Let's continue. To know the vast range of symbols associated with each path is, of course, the work of a lifetime. But the student must learn the key symbols of each path as the essential preliminary to his studies. He is then able to recognize all other symbol forms as they come his way and assign them to their proper classification. His knowledge will thus develop under two aspects. Firstly, the knowledge of the symbolism and its infinite ramifications. And secondly, the philosophy of the interpretation of that symbolism. Now, I underlined these right here for a reason. It's going to take a lifetime to learn this stuff. So if you're going to get frustrated and give up after 20 minutes or 20 days or 20 weeks or 20 months, look at what she said there. It takes a lifetime. This is the work of a lifetime. You're not going to hear me refer to myself as a master. I'll let other people say that, but I'm not going to say that to myself. Not because I don't feel like I'm worthy of the title, but I know that this work right here, I didn't start it in this lifetime, and I'm probably not going to finish it in this lifetime. So I don't even like to think of a title other than my name, Travis Magus, simply because it makes it easy to find me on Google and YouTube. But outside of that, like, I don't sit here and take great pride in myself. Yes, I'm the greatest magus of our time. You know, like I said, the other dude said that to me. But, you know, I just laughed. Not because I'm thinking, I'm the greatest magus, not you. No. But I can see when I was at that stage. And I wanted the accolades and the approval of my rival. But the thing is, this is a lifetime. This is a lifetime. So doing the work, like I said, it's attaching the objective to the subject of it. Like she says, learn the key symbols of each path as the essential preliminary to your studies. You got to know these symbols. The symbols don't just belong to tarot. They don't just belong to Qabalah. Like I said, they represent the entirety of the cosmic forces. The same way that in Tot with Shooty, page 45, she's got that diagram of all the different influences of the material plane and beyond. It's the same type of thing, just different language. 36 Tawas, 32 paths, 76 tarot cards. Like, the number doesn't really matter, but we're talking about complete systems. And if you learn one system, it makes it easier to understand the next system. Frames Film says each sequential placement and order of the forces within you has the potential to create a new result, just like each new tarot reading will produce a different meaning. Yes. Woo! Society Eject says the work of a lifetime, and I'm pretty sure she's not talking about only the body. Dark O'Donnell says feed praise to the crying baby that is ego, then continue to do the work. His knowledge will thus develop under two aspects. Here are the two aspects that your knowledge is going to develop under. First, you're going to get the knowledge of the symbolism in its infinite ramifications. Meaning, like we said with that death card, someone who doesn't know their ass from their elbow will look at that death card and say, oh my God, I'm going to die. Right? They don't know. The knowledge of the symbolism in its infinite ramifications. Meaning that there's so many meanings to that card. And you've got to remove your attachment to yourself to see that. see a person that says, "Oh my God, the death card. That means I'm gonna die." They're so self-centered that that's all they can see. You've got to begin to release the ego attachment to really see the meaning of these cards. To start to understand that the death card. I was afraid of the death card when I was first learning this stuff. I was afraid of. Have y'all ever done a tarot reading for a question and pulled out the death card and put it back, and put it back, and then pulled again, and really sat there and went with the second reading? Have y'all ever done that? Be honest. I did that. I remember doing readings early on, and I pulled that death card. I put that thing back so fast and did another reading and kept it pushing like I didn't just do what I just did. Have y'all ever done that? Uh-huh. See, Sabrina, got you. I laugh now because like I did it so slick and smooth, like I didn't even question it. I said, "Nope, put it back." That's a limited understanding, right? Now I have a wider understanding, infinite ramifications, right? So as you study and as you practice, you're going to start to see that your knowledge develops under two aspects. The first is the knowledge of the symbolism in its infinite ramifications. It doesn't mean just literal death. It means change, transformation, processing, becoming something different. The fact that this is going to affect anyone regardless of what they are, right? Different things belong to that symbol. Secondly, the philosophy of the interpretation of that symbol. There's a philosophy behind each one of those cards, right? There's a specific perspective and a viewpoint coming from working with the energy behind that card. You have an idea of what heart chakra work is, right? That's an energy, a viewpoint, and a perspective coming from the interpretation of that symbol. Heart chakra work. You got an interpretation of that. So basically what she's saying here is there's two things that you're going to learn from studying these symbols. Number one, the knowledge of the symbolism and its infinite ramifications. And two, the philosophy of the interpretation of that symbol. You get me? Society Eject says, LOL. Yes, I pull out the death card, LOL, and got scary as a bitch. Slept with the light on for a couple weeks. It was so funny now when I look back at it. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I pulled that card and put it back in the deck and didn't think twice about it either. Now, how serious and how mature am I being if I sit there and do something like that? How serious am I being when I put that card back? Was I really trying to get a reading, or was I trying to see something to make me feel better in the moment? Will says, so Trav, I saw 666 on a license plate. I thought, oh, nature, that means I should let Prakriti do her thing and fall back today. No force. Is that what we're talking about? Yes, that is, because if you have an understanding of the symbolism of 666 and its infinite ramifications, and you also have a philosophy of the interpretation of 666, now you're able to use that symbol and its infinite ramifications as a trigger for a pool of knowledge, right? Because 666 doesn't mean fall back and be easy, right? 666 is just a symbol. But in that context, when you see that trigger, it opens up certain information that relates to your specific situation right then and there. So if that's how you take it and that's how you do it, perfect. Perfect. Keep it pushing. When I see a unicorn wherever I go, out in public or on the computer screen or the phone screen, it means something to me. Now just imagine if you were able to codify all of your reality. That's what I call hijacking the matrix, right? So imagine if you had a symbolism for books and white roses and a mirror and mystical forest fairy music, right? Imagine if you had meanings and coding systems for all the symbols you encounter. What would your life become at that point? At At no point would the conversation between you and God come to an end. If anything, it would ramp up now because you're speaking God's language. And check this out. This is not a conscious mind process. This is now allowing the unconscious mind to communicate with you. Now we're living a magical lifestyle. You feel me? You feel me? Somebody hears me. I'm gonna do like the preachers. This message ain't for everybody, but I know it's 5 people in the audience. This for 5 people in the audience. 20 people stand up and raise their hand. That's me, Lord. That's me. Once he has mastered a working knowledge of the concepts of esoteric cosmogony and has the general scheme of symbolism assigned to each sephiroth well fixed in his memory, the student is equipped with a card index system and can commence collecting the material for his files from every imaginable source in archaeology, folklore, mystical religion, travelers' tales, and the speculations of ancient and modern philosophy and ultra-modern science. Like I said, imagine if you were able to use all the symbols you encounter in your waking life. Now, when I say all the symbols, I don't just mean a logo or a brand. Everything is a symbol. Your mother's a symbol. Your mama, right? Your best friend is a symbol. Your boss is a symbol. Your daughter's a symbol. Your favorite Instagram model is a symbol. Your favorite sports team winning the game. Your favorite boxer winning the fight tonight. Whether the restaurant has Coca-Cola or Pepsi, everything is a symbol. Uh-oh. We got some synchronicity in the chat. That's a symbol, right? The fact that homie brought up the Silva method and you just started reading the Silva method today, that's a symbol. Now, I wonder how you're going to interpret that. I could tell you what I think that means, but you know what's more important? What do you think that means? What do you think that means? Tell me in the chat. What do you think that means? And then after you do, maybe somebody else tell me what they think that means. See, this is the thing about synchronicity. Don't just stop and be like, "Oh, it's so cool, synchronicity." Interpret what that metaphor means. Like, what did it mean? What did it mean to you? Because I know a lot of us, we get so excited and we stop right there. Oh my God. You went to Popeyes today too? And you got the same thing I got? Wow. No, what does it mean though? There's something deeper to it. And don't get it twisted now. That doesn't mean that there's actually something. That doesn't mean that it actually means something. What we're doing is we're practicing speaking the language of the universe. We're practicing how to talk in symbology. What did it symbolize? What's the metaphor? It didn't literally mean that now. That this is where it comes to being a magus. You got to learn how to walk that fine line. There's a fine line between believing it and playing with it, right? Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. That coincidence you just said about the Silva method, it doesn't mean anything, but it could. Learn to walk that line in between. Learn to walk that line in between. That's how we do the magic. Because if you believe it 100%, you become ensnared by it. If you just say, nah, it's just a coincidence, you don't have any faith to work with. You got to walk that fine line. Got to walk that fine line. Curve, good to see you, my brother. Peace. Dark O'Donnell says it means I'm on the right path. Keep going and relentlessly follow my intuition. Perfect. Perfect. Hollow Vegeta says it means something to me. Gotcha. Exactly. Exactly. Learn to play with this thing. It doesn't mean anything, but it can, right? You get me? Rise Academy says, yup, I get what you're meaning. Perfect. 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 Because, see, a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people get stuck, and I see it all the time, especially, like, say, when we're talking about the deities. Listen, if I'm sitting here and I say that I commune and I have conversations with Saraswati, Durga, Lakshmi, right? Yeah. Yeah, when I'm in my meditations and I'm going in, I'm hanging out with my 3 favorite mystical women. But I'm not actually hanging out with 3 mystical women. This is how my conscious mind interacts with the unfathomable algorithms of my unconscious mind, right? There's not no 3 mystical women somewhere, but that's how my conscious mind interprets my experience. Now, in that moment, it feels real, and for all intents and purposes, it is. But when I come to, I understand. That was me intermingling with an energy that I really don't have any way to explain other than hanging out with 3 of the baddest feminine archetypes in all of spirituality. Interesting. Me and my cousin, we went to the gas station today. And, of course, there's an Indian guy behind the counter. And we both are wearing our Rudraksh. And he was, like, so surprised. Like, only saints wear those in my country. Do y'all know what those are? And we're like, yeah, they're Rudraksh, da-da-da-da. And he was just so happy and excited to see it. Like, he did the prayer hands and bowed a little bit. He's like, those are very, very auspicious, very auspicious. And my cousin was telling him about how he works with Hanuman, and he showed him his Hanuman yantra that he wears. And I told him about my, I pray to Tridevi. And he's like, oh, thank you. So good to see. Next time you guys come, he said he's going to give us something, but I don't go to that gas station, so I'm probably not going to go back. But it's just interesting. Very interesting. So again, like she said here at the end, once you start doing this and learning how to speak the language of symbology, now you will see what I've said from the beginning. No matter what you follow, look at all the stuff she named here: archaeology, folklore, mystical, religion, travelers, tales, speculations of ancient and modern philosophy, and ultra-modern science. All that stuff can fit into the Tree of Life. All of it. All this stuff can fit into the 10 spheres and the 22 paths. Once you learn what you're doing. That's why I say it don't matter what you follow. Like, do not waste your time sitting up here arguing with a knucklehead about whose system is better. It's all subjective. Your system might be better for you, right? But you're gonna waste your breath trying to tell me that your system is better than mine, right? But first of all, how could you even know? And what are we judging this off of? I'm getting results, and from the looks of it, my results are looking better than yours. So let's not have this conversation. Instead, let's see how what we're talking about connects and how we can help each other, right? Because I'm positive you got something in your understanding that can help me, and I want it. And likewise, I know for a stone cold fact that something in my software can help you, and I'm open to sharing it. But let's not sit up here and fight that endless, meaningless battle of who's better. Like, even starting that fight shows me where you're at. So, and right then and there, it's no point even talking about this with you, because we're not on the same page. We're not on the same level. Framestar Film says denotation and connotation. What is seen and what is implied. What is seen will be similar to us all, but what is implied is something that will be different to us all unless the occult significance is learnt. That's a good one. I'm gonna write that down. Denotation and connotation. Hell yeah. If you're not working tomorrow, Framestar, you should jump on the live stream. Guys, I'm going to do everything in my power to start that live stream at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But I might be asleep. Denotation, connotation. Duh, I've got a phone. I can take a screenshot. There we go. Society Eject says, yo, I was doing the Durga mantra all week and I had a realization that change was trying to work its way out. But I was fighting against the change and realized I'm not comfortable with the change. Yes. Dark Odani says, it is, but it isn't. Duality. But it's crystal clear, Traff. Putting shit into the ether, then connecting the dots for the macro and the micro on all of our own reality. Yes, yes. Now, here's the thing. I don't even see it as duality. I see it as unity. Because you're merging the two into one. Superposition, right? You mentioned quantum physics. It's superposition. It's the one and the zero. You're still the cat inside of Schrodinger's box. You're dead and you're alive, right? It's yes and no. Who's the serpent entity we mentioned yesterday? Oshumare. Oshumare. That's him right there. Superposition. One and zero. It's not duality. It's unity. It's both. You get what I'm saying? It's both. Yes, I'm the greatest Sith Lord in the universe right now. Yes, I'm also a regular ass black dude down in South Georgia. I'm both and I'm neither, right? I'm both and I'm neither. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go to my mom and tell her how powerful and magical I am. I'm not ridiculous. But in my alone time in the mirror, it's going to be a different story. It's both and it's neither. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. I downloaded PUBG to see if I'd like it. And the first thing I see on there, they got this big thing in the store. It says nothing is true. Everything is permitted. I'm like, man, everybody's in on it now. Petty Midnight Gospel says Oshimari came to me. Awesome. And what did you get from that experience? What did you get from that? Hollow Vegeta says, exactly why I say I don't see it as a war between good and evil, but a dance, since both sides work together. Precisely. Because there is not one without the other. So good to be able to communicate with people who understand. Jeez Louise, y'all don't know, man. It is so rare to have like a collection of people who get it, you know. But it's good. It's good. I appreciate times like this. And I appreciate my consultations. I appreciate my classes. Like, it's good to be amongst people who are open to learn and who understand this stuff. Because, man, I spent most of my life around people who literally did not give two squirts of piss about no Dion Fortune, no Kabbalion, no Qabalah, none of that. All right, let's keep going because we're only on verse 8. The uninitiated inquirer may wonder how the enormous mass of data is kept sorted in the memory. And I've heard this question too, like, Trav, how am I supposed to remember all this stuff? It's so much. Alligator, peace, my brother, peace. The uninitiated inquirer may wonder how the enormous mass of data is kept sorted in the memory. To begin with, the serious student who uses the tree as his meditation method works at it regularly every day. Y'all heard what she said, right? Y'all heard what she said. The serious student who uses the tree as his meditation method works at it regularly every day. Moreover, it will be found by experience that the assignation of symbols to each sephiroth has a peculiar logical basis hidden somewhere deep in the subconscious mind, and the symbol sequences are not nearly so difficult to remember as might be supposed, especially if they have been used for meditation. Some of the symbols refer to the concepts of esoteric philosophy, some to the methods of projecting consciousness in a vision. Ooh. Have y'all ever projected your consciousness into vision? And some to the composing of ceremonial. The student must remember, however, that the symbols will never yield their significance to conscious meditation alone. See how I underline that? Because that's extremely important. This is what I said a little bit earlier. The conscious mind is just a fish swimming in an infinitely deep ocean. And that fish is only aware of the 7 pieces of data floating around it. But this infinite ocean is infused with all the data of the universe. The conscious mind is that fish. The unconscious mind is that ocean. It's not the other way around. We exist within the unconscious. We exist within the unconscious. The fact that we have 5 senses, right? That's all that we're able to be aware of. Oh, there's more, right? The soul's not inside your body somewhere. The body's in the soul. Your environment, your room that you're in right now, exists within the soul, but you're only aware of what the 5 senses can pick up. All the data is here. All your ancestors, all your gods and spirits and demons and angels and your future and your past, everything is existing right here, right now. But because the conscious mind, the bandwidth is so small, so tiny, we're only able to be aware of what the immediate 5 senses can pick up, what's on your mind, what you thought about yesterday, and what you're going to do tomorrow. That's all we're able to be aware of. But trust and believe, if you can shift your state into an altered state, you can start to pick up some of the other pieces of latent information that is existing within your immediate environment. Because you're actually not physically somewhere. You're just aware of the concept of being here now. That's going way too deep. I get a feeling when I start getting too deep, and I gotta reel it back in. 'Cause baby, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me go all out. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me lose my cool. Up in here, up in here. Good old DMX, right? Society Eject says, LOL, I'm at a birthday party in my car watching this video. This is definitely a lifestyle now. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Whew. Okay. Oh, let's keep going. So yeah, the sentence. The student must remember, however, that the symbols will never yield their significance to conscious meditation alone. So it's not just about you sitting there trying to squeeze and think about it, right? That's not going to cut it. Just like what the Gold Book said, there this stuff can only be realized in an altered state. And that is an altered state from your daily typical alpha conscious state. You can read about this information in that alpha state, or whatever it is, the beta state I think it is, where you're walking around doing stuff and thinking about your grocery list. You're not going to really be able to tap into this magic when you're in that state. This has to be tapped into when you're in an altered state. And I figured it out today. The goal for, at least in my life, the goal for this Magus is to be able to exist within altered states as much as possible so that I can access information that goes along with it. This is why I had to change my lifestyle so that I can be in an altered state as much as possible. And I'm not talking about getting drunk and high. I'm talking about being able to put myself into a trance as often as possible. Does that sound like it'd be easy to do living in the Himalayas? See, it's not about running away into the forest and getting away and living off the grid and none of that stuff. It's about being able to tap into these altered states at will so that you can do the work in those altered states, right? But that's hard to do when you're dealing with people who, you know, I don't have to explain it. But that's just something I found for myself. That's what I really meant. See, I've been doing the shadow work on myself too. And I always said one of my highest values was to have peace. To have peace so nobody bothers me. And I realize why now. I want peace so that I can go into my altered states and pull out the information necessary. That's how I do it, right? So look, if you see me looking weird and different on the internet, that's why. Because I know how to put myself into a trance and access this energy. It ain't about what anybody else is saying. I don't know. I don't care. But what I do know is I know how to put myself into trance so that I can pull out the information from the unconscious. But sitting there thinking about it and squeezing and tensing up your eyebrow, like, that's not how you do it. She says here that the symbols will never yield their significance to conscious meditation alone. However correctly and completely they are known, they must be used as the initiates intended them to be used, to evoke images from the subconscious mind into conscious content. Now here's what I just realized. I took a break from reading this book. Now, I mentioned that I've already read this book several times. My eyes have not physically, but my eyes have laid upon the words on these pages multiple times, like not just once or twice, probably about 5 times I read this book. So my unconscious mind knows this book. I'm pretty sure that I had to take a break to study other things to truly understand what we're about to get into. It makes sense now because she's talking a lot about the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And for me to be able to interpret this, I wouldn't be able to do that with some of the stuff that I've learned recently. Makes sense now. So it wasn't that I fell off. It's that I needed to go in a different direction for a little bit to really break this down because there's only one more chapter before we start getting to the sephiroth. Hold on a minute. The mystical forest fairy music has stopped. Ominous ambient journey. That sounds cool. Let's see how that sounds. Uh-oh. Scrolling up in the chat here. Alligator says, this is the point where Bobby would hit him so hard and then say, y'all all right? Is anybody out here listening to me? Kahuila 4700. Peace, peace, peace. Alligator says, is changing to altered states synonymous with switching brainwave states? It can be, but mostly I'm talking about different like emotional belief sets, right? Like when I'm at work, when we're at work, that's a state. When I was at the movies today watching Dragon Ball, that was a state. I was smiling like a little kid, and I was back in 1999, sitting in front of my parents' TV, catching up on that 30 minutes of Dragon Ball, commercial breaks and all. Like I was back there because I was sitting next to my brothers, my cousins, like we were all there. It was literally transported back into time. I went back into that state, and I caught myself because I was sitting up at the edge of my seat, smiling real big, watching Goku and Vegeta go at it, right? Seeing Bulma and her making a wish to have a fat ass when she could have just went to Veronica to get a BBL, but she literally made a wish to make her butt get bigger. That doggone Bulma. But yeah, that's an altered state, right? So being able to control specific states for a specific purpose. I went into that state so that I could enjoy myself to the max. I wasn't trying to look tough. I wasn't trying to be cool. I wasn't worried about no girls sitting in front of me or behind me. I was there to have fun. So if we use these states to achieve a specific result, that's when we're really working with the astral plane. That's working with the astral plane. Rise Academy says, fam, I say that all the time to close ones. You don't have to run to the rainforest and the pyramids. Right. Because wherever you go, there you are. You taking all your little shadow influence with you. Naturally natured. Peace. Good evening. I don't know why it doesn't give notifications to some of y'all. I mean, I guess I could say click the bell like other people say, but I don't know. MC Maestro. Peace, bro. Peace. Yes, and just like Maestro says, please hit that like button. Mm-hmm. Hollow Vegeta says she wished for cheeks. That's agenda. Hard at work. Shake my head. Yeah, man. Society Eject says, wait, she used the Dragon Ball to get her bigger booty? Well, we got to think about Bulma here. She's been searching for the Dragon Ball since 1980. Like, she's been doing this for like 50 years. So she keeps getting them. Every time she makes a wish, she goes and gets them again. By this point, by this point in the movie, like this isn't a spoiler, but she has people working for her to go out and get those Dragon Balls and bring them to her. So she gets them. No one else is getting those balls no more. She's the richest woman on the planet, and she's got the balls every time. And she consistently wishes to be younger, tighter, firmer, beautiful, whatever. So yeah. The show ain't even about the Dragon Balls no more. Budhi. So yeah, I see now why I took that break, so that I could get a deeper understanding of the unconscious and how it relates to what we're talking about here. Tight Yoni Jutsu. Tight Yoni Jutsu, my only weakness. I don't really like that one. Going back to the other one. Hollow Vegeta says, I watched DBZ so many years before I realized Dragon Balls were chakras. Right. Okay, all right, let's continue. So one more time, the student must remember, however, that the symbols will never yield their significance to conscious meditation alone. It's not just about thinking hard. However correctly and completely they are known, they must be used as the initiates intended them to be used, to evoke images from the subconscious mind into conscious content. Matthew Watson, peace, brother. Peace with the galaxy background. We're getting close. We are getting close. Dark Odani says, tight yoni jutsu. I'm just trying to picture the movements that go with it when I say it. Careful, you don't want to get too sidetracked. Non-attachment. Maintain your frame. There's a time and a place for tight yoni jutsu. But right now, keep that awareness tight. Keep that focus tight. Keep your eyes on these words. Focus on the buddhi, not the booty. The buddhi. Wolfen Syrian 777. Peace, bro. Stay focused, my friends. Time and place for everything. So, number 9. One set of symbols is assigned to the 10 holy sephiroth themselves, and another set to the 22 paths that connect them. Some of the symbols, however, occur in both sets, and all of them interconnect through their astrological and numerical correlations. This sounds most perplexingly complex, but in actual practice, it is far simpler than it sounds, because the work is not done with the conscious mind. Do y'all hear what Dion Fortune is telling y'all? So y'all be thinking I just be making this stuff up. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Who said that? What movie is that from? Which one of y'all kicked me? Extra credit to whoever guesses it. This sounds most perplexingly complex, but in actual practice, it is far simpler than it sounds, because the work is not done with the conscious mind, but with the subconscious mind. And it matters very little in what manner the symbols are pitchforked into. The strange demon that sits behind the sensor sorts them out, picking that which it requires and rejecting all else, until finally a coherent pattern reappears in consciousness that only requires analysis to yield its significance after the same manner as a dream. If you have this book, you better highlight that and read it again, because she's telling you how it works. Don't say I never taught you nothing. Don't say Beyond Fortune never taught you nothing. That right there. That right there. So again, she said, I'm gonna read that whole thing one more time. One set of symbols is assigned to the 10 holy sephiroth themselves, and another set to the 22 paths that connect them. Some of the symbols, however, occur in both sets, and all of them interconnect through their astrological and numerical correlations. This sounds most perplexingly complex, but in actual practice, It is far simpler than it sounds, because the work is not done with the conscious mind, but with the subconscious mind. And it matters very little in what manner the symbols are pitchforked into. The strange demon that sits behind the censor sorts them out, picking that which it requires and rejecting all else, until finally a coherent pattern reappears in consciousness that only requires analysis to yield its significance after the same manner as a dream. Madame, you could use a couple more periods. I'm just saying. All right, Matthew Watson got specific with it. Rush Hour 3. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Which one of y'all kicked me? Which one of y'all kicked me? I like him. He was a great comedian. So Framestar Film says synchronicity explained. Exactly. She just told you how synchronicity works. Like, I'm telling y'all, highlight this stuff. You're getting explanations for things that we don't normally have explanations for. That's what synchronicity is. And that's actually what we've been talking about since the beginning of this chapter. Coincidence? Smokey over here taking a shit. Okay. Verse 10. A vision evoked by the use of the tree is, in fact, an artificially produced waking dream, deliberately motivated and consciously related to some chosen subject, whereby not only the subconscious content, but also the superconscious perceptions are evoked and rendered intelligible to consciousness. In a spontaneous dream, the symbols are drawn at random from experience. In the Kabbalistic vision, however, the picture is evoked from a limited set of symbols to which consciousness is rigidly restricted by a highly trained habit of concentration. It is this peculiar power to turn the mind loose within determined limits which constitutes the technique of occult meditation. And it is only to be acquired by constant practice over a considerable period. It is this which constitutes the difference between the trained and the untrained occultist. The untrained person may be able to detach consciousness from the control of the directing personality and thus allow the images to rise. But he has no power to restrict and select what will appear. And consequently, anything may appear, including a varying proportion of subconscious content. The trained occultist, however, accustomed to use this method in meditations, is able to swing instantly clear of the normal subconscious content unless it is disturbed by emotion, in which case he is liable to be entangled in its meshes. Even if, so what? But even in this case, his method is his protection, for he is immediately able to recognize confused symbolism in the images because he has definite standard of comparison with which to compare them. So it's obvious to me that I did not have my highlighter when I first read this chapter, which is why it's not highlighted, but it's actually got pin marks. But all that should be highlighted. All that should be highlighted. She just told you the difference between, well, Trev, how do I know that I'm just daydreaming versus actually doing occult visualizations? She just told you that. She just broke it down for you. Right? As a matter of fact, I think it was you, Maestro. You asked me what's the difference between a distraction and a vision or something like that. Bam! Here it is. She just broke that thing down. If you have this book and you have one of these yellow highlighters, all of this should be yellow. And as I am not one to tell somebody to do something that I wouldn't do, man, I hate to highlight a whole paragraph because it's like, what specifically in here was hot? But we're talking Dion Fortune here. Every part of everything that comes out of her fingertips is hot. Maybe I'm just a fan, or a very enthusiastic student, or maybe I can truly resonate. Bump it. We just coloring the whole thing. So she just showed you the difference between you just daydreaming for no reason versus selecting an actual limitation or a set of rules, regulations, or constraints, and then allowing your mind to go free. That's how we do it. That's how it's done. She also said that this is your protection, to be able to immediately recognize confused symbolism versus what you're actually working with, right? To be the Magus, you've got to be able to know the difference. MC Maestro says, Dion Fortune, Gareth Knight, William Butler, and the Swamis have you highlight the whole page. Right. Right. Whew. This is some good stuff right here. Matthew Watson says, me and my brothers just watched Friday. It's wild y'all brought Chris Tucker up. And so you're the one that guessed the exact movie, so here we are again with the synchronicities. Every time I go live, someone's plural has synchronicities. It's because when you watch these videos, you allow yourself to open up your unconscious mind and for this stuff to come out. You're doing that. I'm just a trigger. I need you to understand that you have the power. It ain't me. Golden Apple Tea says, we exist in trance. The tricky part, as I understand you, is the shifting of these. Yes, ma'am. Shifting it with intention, right? I know what trances I need to be in to get specific results, right? I know which scarf and which cloak to wear in order to put myself into a specific state. Am I on my Palpatine or am I on my Saraswati? Only I know. Society Eject says, so Travis, is that the same thing we talked about Thursday about the apple? I would say that it's very similar at least. I'd say it's very similar at least. Framestar Films says a map of the territory. Uh-oh. In studying the tree, the student should always think of each sephiroth under the threefold aspect we have already mentioned, of philosophy, psychism, and magic. To this end, he should always think of it firstly as representing a certain factor in the evolution of the cosmos in the immemorial past of cosmic time, whether it remains in manifestation, has passed away, or has not yet arrived at the level of dense matter. I like that. Not yet arrived at the level of dense matter. So please understand that even regarding manifestation, right? The stuff that you want to happen in your life, all these things are existing somewhere on the scale or the timeline, right? And there's cosmic time, which includes an infinite past, right? A manifestation of the present, or something that hasn't yet arrived at the level of the physical plane. But you should always understand that when you're dealing with magic, when you're dealing with the forces of the cosmos, it's going to be good to kind of have an idea of what stage of existence it's at. And again, be able to think of each Sephiroth under the title of philosophy, psychism, and magic. We could also say Hod, Yesod, and Netzach, because those are the spheres that are closest to us. Mm-hmm. Darko Donnie says, I wonder how to strengthen synchronization. And MC Maestro says, you just got it. She dropped keys. That's what I'm saying, man. I didn't just highlight that entire page for nothing. If you have this book, Darko Donnie, you might want to study verses 9 and 10, because she's dropped something incredible just now. Something incredible just now. But again, if you got the eyes to see it, you'll see it. And there's nothing more to it. I'll be trying to take it slow so some people who might miss it may catch it. And for those who do catch it, it probably sounds redundant, but we're going to do what we do. Number 12. With this aspect of the tree, there are also taken the curious cryptic texts of the Sefer Yetzirah, one to each path. These most baffling utterances have a curious way of yielding sudden flashes of illumination to meditation, and are by no means to be rejected as rubbish, incomprehensible, though they may appear at first sight. And as we know, the Sefer Yetzirah is a kabbalistic text. I'm not too strong on that text right now, so I don't have much to say about it, other than when I tried to read it in 2015 along with this book, I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I'm probably going to go back into it before long. 13. Another source of, and by the way, what she's saying here is that even though I didn't understand it at the time, and most people won't, the text isn't just rubbish. This is written by someone who is able to project their consciousness to a very high, very subtle density. And they're able to perceive reality from a different angle than we are, the same way that yogis do. That's the power of a channeled message. It's timeless, and it touches just about everyone who's able to comprehend it. 13. Another source of illumination is to be found in the additional titles of the Sephiroth, each of which has anything from 1 to 2 or 3 dozen. These are graphic descriptive names applied to the various Sephiroth by the ancient rabbis and found scattered through the Kabbalistic literature. And they tell us a great many things. For instance, the titles Concealed of the Concealed and Primordial Point that are applied to Kether convey a good deal to those who know where to look for it. MC Maestro says it'll be easier to read Sefer Yetzirah after part 2 of Kabbalistic symbolism. Yeah. Oh man, imagine tackling that on a YouTube live stream. That would be... Whew. I might start having some rabbis tune in. Number 14. Yeah, MC Maestro says, I think Israel would cut the stream. I didn't want to say it. 14. We can also, once we are acquainted with the symbolism, assign to the various sephiroth their equivalent gods in other systems. And when we look up the symbols, functions, cosmic concepts, and methods of worship assigned to these deities, we get a fresh flood of illumination. By the use of a good mythological dictionary or an encyclopedia, Fraser's Golden Bow, and Madame Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, we can, by the mere application of diligence, read a great many riddles that at first appeared insoluble, and the exercise is a fascinating one. When used thus, the tree is peculiarly valuable because its diagrammatic form causes things to be seen in relation to each other, thus causing them to throw light upon each other. Too legit to quit. Too legit. Bam, 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 bam. I may have mentioned it on another live stream, but the number 88 has heavy significance for me. And here we are on page 88. I've literally been seeing this number every single day since my grandfather passed. Every single day. And that's the age that he would have been if he were still alive. So I automatically attributed that number to him. And it literally hasn't stopped. In order to manipulate the psychic aspect of the tree and its paths, the occultist uses images, because it is by means of images and the names that evoke them that vision is formulated. He associates with each sephiroth a primary symbol, which is called its magical image. Secondly, he associates with it in his mind a geometrical form, which in various ways embodies its characteristics. And when he composes symbols, he uses that form as the basis. For instance, Gibura, Mars, the fifth Sephiroth, has assigned to it a pentagon or a five-sided figure. Any symbol of Gibura, whether it be a talisman, an altar to Mars, or a mental picture of a symbol, should be in the form of a pentagon, colored in one of the colors of the Mars color scale. Y'all see how she's telling y'all how to do this? You see how she's telling you how to do this? So, right now, stop and think to yourself about your knowledge on the Tree of Life. When you got those 10 Sephiroth right there in front of you and the typical diagram of the tree, and you start to see the colors, from Kether going down, brilliant white, gray, then black, then blue, then red, then orange, then green, then yellow, then green, then orange, then purple, surrounded by rainbow, and then the colors of Malkuth. So you got these spheres of the tree. Do you have actual images associated with them? See, the cover of this book is very helpful with that. And also the last couple of books that we read should be helpful with that also. For Kether, you might see a bearded king in profile, right? The side of a man's face, with a long beard and a crown, and he is a king, a great and mighty king. Half of his face you see, the other half is facing the unimaginable existence of whatever else. A symbol for Chokmah could be a mighty lingam, right? A mighty lingam. The symbol for Bina could be an all-encompassing cosmic yoni, right? A symbol for Chesed. This could be a peaceful king sitting on his throne. Like, everything is good. He's chilling. The throne looks nice. The people are happy and well fed and protected, and they feel great, and they're coming up with beautiful art and beautiful inventions, right? You go to Gibura, you see a king on his chariot, ready to throw down. As a matter of fact, He's done ran through a couple enemies already, automatically, systematically. Sword in hand, legions of armies behind him, ready to fuck it up, right? That's Gibera. Then you come down to Tifereth, and you should see the peaceful, crowned, risen Savior, the King of the people, yet he dwells amongst them, right? Sweet baby Jesus, full grown Jesus with the sandals on, right? Risen Jesus after the crucifixion, right? And how about Netzach, the most beautiful woman that has ever walked the planet, right? Surrounded by beautiful stuff, nature and all of its abundance. Hod, for an advanced mind, you could see a hermaphrodite, a perfect human figure composed of whatever it takes. Or you could see an incredibly intelligent scholar, someone who is wise and knows how to study, knows how to find the gems of knowledge wherever they are, right? This is all according to the cover of this book. For Yasad, you should see a mighty, strong, and beautiful man, right? Someone that you can really count on to get the job done no matter what. And then, of course, Malkuth. You should be able to see a princess sitting on her throne, training and ready to become queen. Do you have different images for each of these Sephiroth? And aside from just those images, there should also be, like she said here, different geometrical shapes that are associated with the characteristics of this stuff. See, if you're able to do that, you're able to tap into the archetypes of these energies. If you have this book, just flip to the cover. All this is right there on the cover, and it's for a reason. Right? Or do you not have any images for these Sephiroth? Like, do you just see Qabalah like as a whole, like a bunch of circles connected by lines? Is that what you see? Because it's going to be a little bit more difficult to work with this tree if you don't have something to grab a hold of with your abstract mind. Now, if you don't have all that, start with the colors. Start with the colors. This is why I keep saying, like, memorize this. So I keep showing the cover of the book in my older videos. Like, all this is for a reason. These symbols are how you work with the tree. This chapter is called Practical Work Upon the Tree. This chapter is about how you do magic. That one dude who took my course and then went off and tried to make his own version of it, like, if he's here right now, like, don't do that anymore, but just read this chapter and make a course out of that, because this right here tells you how to do magic. I ain't tripping. God dang. MC Maestro says there's an alternative symbol for Yasad as a woman with an extremely ripe womb. I don't even know what that looks like. Extremely ripe? What are we talking about? Like watermelon stretch marks? What is extremely ripe? But in any case, oh, okay. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, yeah, when you said womb, I had the image of pregnant, but I see. May the waters of Yasad flow freely. Oh boy. Well, hey, as long as the symbology works, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, as long as the symbology allows you to tap into the energy that it represents, right? Number 16. The most, and there is a lot that could be highlighted there, but I'm going to resist. Number 16. The most important forms upon the tree, however, are those associated with the four names of power assigned to each sephiroth. With these are associated four colors, in which they are conceived to manifest in a symbolic form in each of the four worlds of the Kabbalists. The highest of these is the God name, which manifests in Absoluth, the plane of spirit, and the supreme name of power of that Sephirotic sphere, and dominates all its aspects, whether cosmic, evolutionary, or subjective. There's a key for me. I will take that. It represents the idea underlying the development of manifestation in that sphere, the idea that runs through all subsequent evolution and expresses itself in all ensuing effects and manifestations. Yeah, I can work with that. I'll come back to that later because I missed that before. 17. The second name of power is that of the archangel of the sphere, and it represents the organized consciousness of the being through the activities of which the evolution of that phase was inaugurated and directed. Although these beings are represented pictorially as of human form, though etherealized, it must not be thought that life and consciousness as we know them in any way correspond to their nature. They are more akin in essence to natural forces. Yet if we consider them simply as unintelligent energy, we shall have no adequate concept of their nature, because they are essentially individualized, intelligent, and purposive. Both these ideas must enter into our concept, modifying each other, till finally we shall arrive at a realization that differs very widely from anything to which Western thought is accustomed. So please get that. There's understanding the archangels is not a simple matter. Like, don't just look at it and say, "Oh, people with wings, they're these super beings with wings." No, that's not correct. Oh, well, they're not actually energy, they're just algorithms. Well, that's not the whole truth either. They are intelligent data. Like, this is something that we're not familiar with in our everyday lives. We're familiar with data and we're familiar with intelligence, but we have not seen with our eyes intelligent data. Like, literally, this is what artificial intelligence would look like, perfected, right? Like, imagine artificial intelligence was created and it actually became like God level, right? So it's not just a computer somewhere. We're talking about data that is alive and superior to a human, right? That's what would be archangel. That's what would be an archangel. It's not quite like a human being life form. It's not really alive, but it is so much data that has been gathered over trillions of years of eternity, right? Not just no computer shit. We're talking about data that has been gathered over trillions of years of infinity. It really has no choice but to be alive. It's almost as if patterns become self-aware. That's what an archangel is. It goes bigger than anything you ever seen on TV, bigger than what you've seen in the movie theater. That's what an archangel is. And its essence is underlying everything, because literally everything that you know has been used to create it. Like, oh, okay, so I just saw Dragon Ball, right? Think about when they created Cell. Cell was from the future, right? And they basically took the DNA and the skill of all the strongest fighters on the planet that have ever existed. So they took all the data from all the strongest fighters on the planet and put it into the perfect machine, Cell. That's what it's like. So by the time Vegeta and Goku met Cell, he'd already he's already mastered them, right? That's what an archangel is. Your entire life has been used as part of its creation, and the entire lives of everything in existence. That's what we're talking about. That's how you're able to work with these archangels, and they're able to work with you because you are a part of them, man. That one right there was for two people. Only two people understood that. Only two people in the chat got that one. Let the church say amen. Gerald Sombright, peace, my brother. Man, I might have to write that down because that was that came from somewhere else. Yeah, man, that's a good one right there. That's a good one right there. Okay, let's continue here. So I hope you guys are getting a more clear and concise and comprehensive perspective on how this stuff works, because it's like no one else is really talking about it like this, because it's a lot of borrowed information and assumptions going on. But right here is plain and simple, plain and clear, I should say, at least. Okay, so yeah, although these beings are represented pictorially as of human form, though etherealized, it must not be thought that life and consciousness as we know them in any way correspond to their nature. So the life that we know of, that's not what they are, right? We're used to life in Prakriti. We're used to life in Malkuth. These things are alive, but in a way that we don't understand because we haven't experienced it. The same way that everybody's so scared of computers becoming alive and they think they're going to kill everybody, that's because we don't understand. So we definitely not going to understand. Ooh, Amazo on DC Comics. I've never heard of him. I'll have to look that up too. Amazo. MC Maestro says, what page you on? I'm on page 88. Thanks for bringing that back. So it must not be thought that life and consciousness as we know them in any way correspond to their nature. They are more akin, in essence, to natural forces. Yet if we consider them simply as unintelligent energy, we shall have no adequate concept of their nature, because they are essentially individualized, intelligent, and purposive. Both these ideas must enter into our concept, modifying each other, till finally we shall arrive at a realization that differs very widely from anything to which Western thought is accustomed. 18. The third name of power denominates not one being, but a whole class of beings, the choirs of angels as they're called by the rabbis, and these again represent intelligent natural forces. want to do that. Intelligent natural forces. The fourth denominates what we have called the mundane chakra. That is to say, the celestial object which is looked upon as the product of the particular phase of evolution which took place under the presidency of that sephiroth and which represents it. 20. The third aspect, which we consider the sephiroth, is the magical aspect and is essentially practical. To arrive at this, we think of what may be experienced under the presidency of these different aspects of deity manifestation, and what powers may be wielded by the magician when he has mastered their lessons. (21) Each sephiroth has assigned to it a virtue, which represents its ideal aspect, the gift which it brings to evolution, and a vice which is the result of the overplus of its qualities. For instance, Gatekeepers, Mars, has for its virtues energy and courage, and for its vices cruelty and destructiveness. The student of astrology will at once recognize that the virtues and vices attributed to the various sephiroth are derived from the characteristics of the planets associated with them, and will find that in this correspondence, a whole new line of approach to astrology is opened up. In other words, you can be a phenomenal astrological reader if you understand Qabalah. As I don't think most astrologers that I've met understand Qabalah. So if you did apply Qabalah to your astrology, you might hit some depth that you didn't know existed. Written in clay. Welcome, welcome. Peace, peace, my bro. I hope that you are enjoying this live stream. I hope everyone's enjoying this live stream. Because this information here, like literally every like basic question I get could be answered with information in this particular chapter. Chicken and macaroni. Chicken wing, hot dog and bologna. Chicken and macaroni. It is 1:09 Eastern Time. Where we at with it? Dropping bricks, says MC Maestro in blonde girl voice. Pantene Pro V, it is. (22) The spiritual experience, as I prefer to call it, or occult power, as Crowley calls it, is a profound realization or vision of some aspect of cosmic science. This constitutes the essence of the initiation of the grade assigned to each sephiroth, for in the greater mysteries of the West, the grades are associated with the sephiroth. 23. The medieval Kabbalists also assigned a part of the body to each sephiroth, but this must not be taken too literally. The real key is to be found in the realization, that the different sephiroth represent factors in consciousness. And if we take Gibra as the strong right arm, we must realize that it really means the dynamic will, the executive capacity, the destruction of the effete and the unbalanced. So do we understand what the physical body is? Do we understand what the etheric body is? Do we understand what the astral body is? Do we understand what the mental body is? Listen, y'all. That doesn't just mean you got a body that's floating around shaped like you on the astral plane. You got to expand your understanding. Oh my God, she just lays it all out right here. When you see that the body is associated to or with the tree of life, that doesn't mean like Gibra represents your right arm. Think about the correspondence between your right arm and Gibra, like what she just said here. The dynamic will. Think about how Yesod is associated with the sexual organ. Well, your mental body, it's not the moon, and it's not shaped like a purple circle. It is the function of being able to pleasure yourself and to procreate and to create things on the mental plane. You get me? She just described how your mental body works right here. You got your physical body made out of flesh. You got your etheric body, right? That's made out of the prana and the breath, right? You got your astral body. That's composed of the emotions that you've gathered from the emotional universe and pulled together, right? You got that angry right arm. You got that giving left arm, right? You see what I'm saying here? Like, it's not just like a body shape in some other dimension. Like, the rules are a little bit different. Your body is constructed of the substance of that plane. So in the astral plane and the mental plane, there's not flesh. So you got to make your body out of something that corresponds with the symbology of how this thing is situated. This goes way deeper than, way deeper than what I've ever heard anybody talk about. Verse 23, she showed you how to break down your mental body. That was for one person in the chat. 24. Each Sephiroth and path has assigned to it symbolic animals, plants, and precious stones. It is necessary that the student should know these for two reasons. Firstly, they give some very important keys to the relation of the gods of the different pantheons to the Sephiroth. And secondly, they form part of the symbolism of the astral paths and serve as landmarks when traveling in the spirit vision. For instance, if one saw a horse or Mars or a jackal, Luna, in the sphere of Netzach, Venus, one would know that there was confusion of plane and the vision was not reliable. In her sphere, one would expect to see her doves and a spotted beast such as a lynx or a leopard. So in other words, it's important to know the symbology of each of these spheres, because when you're actually doing astral projection and lucid dreaming, the symbols that you see should be associated with what you're doing on purpose. So it's an amateur that just says, oh, I'm going to astral project, and it's just out here floating around. That's not how we do it. The initiate sets a parameter for what they're going to experience, and they jump in. And they come back with some type of information that relates to their intention. But a Facebook occultist is like, oh, I astral projected last night and I saw this, that, and the third. But it's like, okay, how does that connect to your intention? What intention? I was just astral projecting, right? But the way that we're supposed to do this in order to evolve is to set an intention and to go into this spirit vision, as she calls it, And you're supposed to meet up with symbols that fit the parameters of what you set out to do in the first place. If I make an intention to drive to McDonald's, I need to see some golden arches, right? I need to see some salty ass crispy fries. I need to see some disgruntled workers behind that counter, right? I need to experience an ice cream machine that's broken. You see what I'm saying? Like, but if I'm seeing a smiling king or a redhead daughter with pigtails and square burgers, I'm probably not in McDonald's. I need to see a creepy clown. Yeah, yeah. And if I see a chicken silhouette and some cows and some happy workers behind that counter, I know for a fact I'm not in McDonald's. I have made it to the Chick-fil-A dimension. And if that's not what I intended, yeah, I can still pull something from that metaphorically, but but my ritual and my method of invocation needs to be tweaked because I didn't exactly reach my destination. The information I got is valuable for sure, but I didn't do what I set out to do. You feel me? But again, notice I didn't say failure. That doesn't mean your ritual failed, right? If I leave my house and I want to go eat at McDonald's, but I end up at Chick-fil-A, that's not a failure, right? Hell, that might be an upgrade, and maybe I can kind of change things on the fly. But what I'm saying here is be intentful with this. Be intentful with this. It is a science. This is a technology. This isn't just let's be out here doing what we want to do. At least not at this level. Maybe when you're just starting out and you first heard of astral projection like 2 days ago, maybe you can do it like that and learn from it. Do you catch my drift? Y'all all right? Is anybody out there listening to me? Give me some questions. So in so many words, the key here is Society Eject says yes, and you also need to know how to operate the vehicle you are driving to McDonald's. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. MC Maestro says, me and a friend set an intention before the ayahuasca trip and got way better results than other people. Hell yes. Intention is very much the key. MC Maestro says Chick-fil-A dimension too expensive. That's why them employees smiling. Hollow Vegeta says I'm dashing. I just came from Shitty D's, dropping it off now. Man, bless that Shitty D's. Bless it. Put some good intention on it. Pray over it. Let the people who receive it have a spiritual breakthrough. And that's how you unlock some of your karma. By helping other people. Not by cursing their food. If you're a DoorDasher, man, make this a spiritual experience. Make this a duty, a mission. Let this be your opportunity. Because look, every person that you have to deliver to, you have Ranan de Bandhana with them. You have body karma with them. The reason that they make DoorDash is so that people can fulfill their karma. Right? So if you're delivering food for folks, make sure you put some sattva energy around that food. Right? Bless it. Let this be an opportunity for you to absolve your own karma. Like, listen to what I'm saying here. Listen to what I'm saying here. Every opportunity you have to meet with another person, this is karma. Now you can make it better, make it worse, or leave it as it is. But I'm gonna leave that up to you and your maturity. Adrian the Great says melanin. I ain't heard that in a minute. Why did you say melanin? The key here is, and I'll Society Eject says, my pleasure, Faye says. At least Chick-fil-A would give you all the dipping sauce you want. That is true now. That is true. That Polynesian sauce and them waffle fries, man, you already got me hungry for tomorrow. Oh, they're closed on Sunday. No. It's all good. No, MC Maestro says they started charging for the sauce where I'm at, but I bought a bottle. How dare they charge for the sauce? They get it for free. All right, let's keep going. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. A bottle of Polynesian. That's wild. I'd have to buy a full bag of tater tots just to go with that bottle of Polynesian sauce. Oh, the Chick-fil-A sauce. Oh, well, never mind. Last I checked, isn't that like a mayonnaise kind of sauce? I don't know. I just get the Polynesian. Dark O'Donnell says the way we resonate, you'll be the first person to be served on a Sunday. I heard that. I'm trying to get served on a Sunday. Let me get served on a Sunday. Number 26. No, number 25. It may be thought that the association of the symbolic beasts with the gods and goddesses in the old myths is entirely arbitrary, and the fruit of the poetic imagination, which, like the wind, bloweth where it listeth. To this, the occultist answers that the poetic imagination is not an arbitrary thing, and refers the skeptic to the works of Dr. Jung of Zurich, the famous psychiatrist, and to the essays of the Irish poet A.E., in particular, Song and Its Fountains, wherein he analyzes the nature of his own sources of inspiration. From the intrinsic nature of his poetry, and from the many passing references in his work, I think we may be entitled to claim A.E. as one of that band of students who have been nurtured on the mystical Qabalah. In other words, she's saying, that's one of my students. I see you, Dion. At any rate, what he has to say is sound Kabbalistic doctrine and extremely illuminating to our present argument. Listen to that, Dion. Listen at Dion. All right, but seriously, you guys doing good? Everybody hanging in there? Everybody learning something? Let me know. Let me know. Society Eject says, yo, Travis, I know this is off topic, lol, but they just dropped a Coca-Cola flavor called Dream World, lol. It's better than Starlight. No, they're trying to pull me in. They're trying to pull me in. One of my roommates has that in the fridge. Like, I opened the fridge and I saw Dream World Coca-Cola, and I was like, I must taste it. I shall. Maybe tomorrow. Hall of Vegeta says, Trav, you seen Sandman? No, and I probably will not. Nothing personal. I just don't really watch shows. I don't have time, man. I don't. Like, I don't have time. Okay, cool. Everybody's with me. Or at least the ones who comment are with me. There's like 60 lurkers who are here for the audio. Well, that's okay. At least y'all all hit the like button. So I'm grateful. I'm not going to complain. Not gonna complain. Well, Trent says, I'll be leaving this live with a lot more than I came with. Even needed this whole experience I gained tonight. Had some questions answered tonight. I ain't even ask them. Romulus Ross says the words are blurry. Yeah, man, it be that way sometimes. That's why you gotta get this book. Gotta grab your copy on Amazon or your local bookstore. All right, let's keep going. We're reaching the end, so just a heads up. 26. Dr. Young has a great deal to say concerning the myth-making faculty of the human mind, and the occultist knows it to be true. Whoa. He knows also, however, that its implications are much farther reaching than psychology has yet suspected. The mind of poet or mystic, dwelling upon the great natural forces and factors of the manifested universe, has, by the creative use of the imagination, penetrated far more deeply into their secret causes and springs of being than has the scientist. It is not for nothing that the racial imagination, working thus, has come to associate certain animals with certain gods. A brief examination of the examples cited serves to show the basis of the association. The doves of Venus show the gentler aspect, and the cat beasts her sinister beauty. The association of plants with the different paths rests upon a twofold basis. Firstly, there are plants traditionally associated with the legends of the gods, as is corn with Ceres and the vine with Dionysus. These we find associated with the sephiroth, with which the functions of these gods are correlated. Corn with Malkuth and the vine with Tifereth, the Christ center, wherewith are associated all the sacrificed gods and the givers of illumination. Plants are also associated with the sephiroth in one way or another. Excuse me. Plants are also associated with the sephiroth in another way. The old doctrine of signatures assigned various plants to the presidency of various planets in a somewhat erratic fashion. In some cases, there was a genuine association. In others, it was arbitrary and superstitious. Old Culpeper and other ancient herbalists have a great deal to say on the subject, and some very interesting researches are being done on the anthroposophical experimental farms. In a similar way, certain drugs are associated with the different sephiroth, and here again, we need to distinguish the superstitious from the mystical. The arbitrary attribution of drugs cannot always be justified by actual experiment, but we may safely say that whole classes of drugs could be regarded as under the presidency of certain sephiroth because they partake of the nature of certain modes of activity which are classified under the sephiroth, right? For instance, all aphrodisiacs could justly be assigned to Netzach, Venus, and all abortifacents to Yesod in her Hecate aspect, analgesics to Chesed, mercy, and irritants and caustics to Gibra, severity. Mm-hmm. GP, are you with me? Wyatt B, peace and greetings. This opens up a very interesting aspect of the study of materia medica, the psychic and psychological aspect of drug activity. It was this aspect which was especially studied by the initiate physicians, such as Paracelsus, and it was the ignorant and superstitious abuse of this aspect of the uninitiated physicians that led to the extraordinary aberrations of folk medicine. Uh-oh. The occultist knows that there is a psychological aspect to every physiological action and function. Who knows that? The occultist. Who else knows that, y'all? Who else knows that there's a psychological aspect to every physiological action and function? Who else knows that? Maybe the practitioner of a certain kind of science. I'm telling y'all, it's no coincidence and no mistake that we find ourselves in a certain kind of study now. Right, exactly, MC Maestro. The occultist knows that there is a psychological aspect to every physiological action and function. He also knows that it is possible powerfully to reinforce the action of all drugs by the appropriate mental action. Didn't we just talk about placebos? Didn't we just read 2 or 3 chapters referencing placebos in the Gold Book? He also knows that it is possible powerfully to reinforce the action of all drugs by the appropriate mental action, and that certain chemically inert substances lend themselves effectually to the transmission and storing of mental activities, just as other substances are effectual conductors or insulators of electricity. Mm-mm-mm. 32. This consideration brings us to the question of the association of certain precious stones and metals with the different sephiroth. an association determined by both astrological and alchemical considerations. As is well known to psychics, crystalline substances, metals, and certain liquids are the best media for conveying or storing subtle forces. Mhm. Color plays an important part in the visions induced by meditation on the various sephiroth, and it is found by experience that a crystal of the appropriate color is the best material out of which to make a talisman. A blood red ruby for the fiery Martian forces of Gibra, an emerald or the green ray nature forces of Netzach. 33. Perfumes, especially incense, are also associated with the different sephira. As has already been noted, certain spiritual experiences and certain modes of consciousness are assigned to each sphere of the tree. It is well known that nothing induces states of mind or stimulates psychic consciousness more effectually than odors. Scents are surer than sights or sounds to make your heartstrings crack. Scents are surer than sights or sounds to make your heartstrings crack. Smell is very important. Very important. Alligator says Pastor Magnum needs to wear the corresponding attire for each Sephiroth. That's too many colors for me, man. Too many colors. MC Maestro says he can't show what he's wearing for your sod. Right, right. You gotta pay for the premium snap on that one. Society Eject says, so anxiety, depression, and sadness, and joy and happiness, and so on, and mental disorders are all coming from a Sephiroth. Yes. Yes, exactly that. And just like how I was saying that everything that we are has been added to the database of the archangels that rule over the Sephiroth. So, likewise, everything that we are has been added to the database of all the Sephiroth. So in that way, they are us, right? Each Sephiroth, we have drawn from the substance of their reality. And that's how we create our reality. That's what Malkuth is, the receiver of the influences of all the planes above. Mm, 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 mm. Let me in now. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in now. Why are those two names still relevant, even from like way back then, specifically at the same time? Hmm? Scents are surer than sights or sounds to make your heartstrings crack, says the most objective of poets. and the experience of practical occultists proves this to be true. There are certain aromatic substances associated by tradition with the different gods and goddesses, and these are most effectually potent to stimulate the mood which is in harmony with the function of that deity. So, are you telling me that smells are important? Smells are important? And that smells can help you enter an altered state? And this can be done on purpose? Whether you're burning cinnamon incense or fruity pebbles, that this can actually be used for spiritual reason? "34. Magical weapons are also included in the long lists of symbols and substances associated with each path. A magical weapon is an instrument of some sort which is used in the evocation of a particular force, or is the vehicle of its manifestation, such as the rod of the magician, or the bowl of water, or crystal sphere of the seer. The assignation of the magical weapons to the paths tells us a good deal about the nature of the paths, because we can deduce therefrom the kind of power that operates in the particular sphere in question." 35. As already noted, the various divinatory systems have their relations with the tree and find their subtlest clues therein. The associations of astrology are readily traced through the symbolism of the planets and elements and their triplicities, houses, and rulership. Geomancy links with the tree via astrology, and the tarot, the most satisfactory of all the systems of divination, rises from and finds its explanation in the tree and nowhere else. That may seem dogmatic a statement to the scholarly historian searching for traces of the origin of those mysterious cards, and, we may add, most lamentably failing to find it. But when it is realized that the initiate works the tarot and the tree together, and that they dovetail into each other at every imaginable angle, it will be seen that such an array of correspondences could be neither arbitrary nor fortuitous. So look, basically what she's saying here is that the tarot cards in Qabalah, they're one and the same. They go together. So much so that when you find the origin of the tarot cards, you're going to find Qabalah. That's what she's saying in that verse there. As awesome and as amazing as tarot is, it is Qabalah. And if anyone were to find its origin, Qabalah would be right there. 36. A most interesting and important aspect of the practical work of the tree concerns the manner in which ceremonial and talismanic magic are used to compensate the findings of the divinatory sciences. Each prick symbol of geomancy, each card of the tarot, and each horoscopic factor have their places assigned to them on the paths of the tree, and the occultist with the necessary knowledge can put together a ritual or design a talisman to compensate or reinforce each and any of these. She's telling you how to connect these dots. So she says each prick symbol of geomancy, we could also include crystals. Each card of the tarot and each horoscopic factor, they've all got their place assigned to the tree. Now it's going to take the occultist with the necessary knowledge to put together a ritual. So look, you'll have these books of rituals that recommend stuff to get, and it may work, but ultimately, the occultist who is very skilled understands why he or she is using the objects in the ritual that they're using. Because the candle isn't magical, the wand isn't magical. You spent $100 on the robe and $200 on the chalice and the dagger and all this other stuff. That's not the magic. Like, even to this day, I don't have super expensive magical equipment because it's not the equipment. It's your understanding of what you're doing. She says the occultist with the necessary knowledge can put together a ritual or design a talisman to compensate or reinforce each and any of these. MC Maestro says, "Oh, Trav, you didn't read the Ophiel Talisman book on live. It's the last one." Oh, man. Well, maybe it's time. Alligator says, most tarot card readers that I know don't know much about Qabalah for some reason. Right? They don't understand its origin. It's probably strictly fortune telling to them. Will says, told y'all I got some questions answered, LMAO. Made some rituals while in this live. Nice, nice, nice. Seen where I went wrong last week and all. I'm glad that information is coming to the surface. And finally, 37. It is for this reason that divination by the uninitiated is apt to bring bad luck in its train, for it stirs the subtle forces by concentrating the mind upon them, without compensating that which is out of equilibrium by the appropriate magical effort. So even just dabbling with this stuff and not really having a comprehensive view of what's happening, you're stirring up subtle forces. And while stirring up those subtle forces, she says that you're not compensating that which is out of equilibrium. So we're not keeping balance. All right. So that is that. That is the end of part 1. Part 2 is next. And you know what happens in part 2? In part 2, we start talking about the actual spheres. So that's where we are. That is where we are. I hope that you guys and gals enjoyed this live stream. Pretty awesome as usual. thong, 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 thong. Ain't nothing wrong. All right. So indeed, that is where we shall leave off until next time. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. My day was long, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I got to experience some good times. That's for sure. Okay. It's about bedtime for me, that's for sure. So, hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow on the live stream. Like I said, I'll try my best to make it around 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But I'm going to get a full night's sleep, so the time may be pushed back. But I will definitely live stream tomorrow, that's for sure. Alright, so that's that. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Go ahead and wrap this thing all the way up. Ain't nothing wrong. Okie doke. So, have a good night. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys. Peace. Unicorn.